With your host Hussein Talib. In this episode, I have with me Steve Lowell talk about how to think differently, speak differently, and sell more. To talk about using speaking to grow your business. Steve has been speaking and performing on the live stage since the age of 6. That's over 54 years. From Ottawa, Canada, Steve is an award-winning global speaker. For over 30 years, he has been training and mentoring executives, thought leaders, and professional speakers worldwide to deliver high-impact keynote speeches, drive revenue from the platforms, and build wealth through speaking. So, if you are interested to learn more how to grow your business through speaking and gaining the art and master this art to grow your business, this is the episode for you. So, Steve, welcome to this episode of the podcast.
Well, thanks for inviting me, Hussein. I'm really happy to be here with you and your listeners.
Awesome to have you, Steve. So, first of all, but I always ask this question to my guests because this is the Success Secret podcast. What is success to you specifically, or after all these years and experiences that you have? What does success means to you, and how do you see success differentiate between people and what they think of it?
Well, I think that's a really good question. And of course, success is defined by the individual. And I've thought about this for a lot of years, Hussein, because my business has taken so many twists and turns, and there have been so many successes and failures. And I often think about that question: how do I know when I've been successful? And here's what I've boiled it down to: basically two things. The first is being able to serve the people in this world who I was meant to serve. And that took some time to figure out. So now I'm pretty sure I know who I'm supposed to be serving. And so if I'm serving them and I'm getting confirmation that I'm serving them, people are telling me that they're getting their own success because of my work, that's a measure of success. And then the other measure of success is that I can afford to do that. I want to be able to travel the world as I do and live the lifestyle that I love as I do with my wife, and have the lifestyle that I enjoy from serving the people in the world that I was meant to serve. So if I know I'm serving them and I know I'm earning enough money to enjoy my lifestyle, then that's success to me.
Mm. Yeah. That's amazing because we need to be in a place of service to others. That's
It
very
is.
important. So now speaking to grow businesses, that's very important. But do you think, first of all, every business owner or entrepreneur, whether online or offline, should have some kind of a skill set for speaking?
You know, that's actually a complicated question. And the reason it's a complicated question is because there are people that I've met, entrepreneurs, who are not speaking and very much should be. And there are others who are speaking and probably shouldn't be. And so it's not that everybody should be speaking. I don't believe that's true. I believe there's an opportunity for everybody to use speaking to generate revenue, but there are parameters I think that need to be met in order to really do it effectively. So the entrepreneurs that I encounter who are not speaking and should be, these are oftentimes entrepreneurs who have amassed some sort of mental wealth, like, they've got intellectual property, so intellectual wealth. They've got great ideas. They have a pure mission in the world. They have what you just mentioned, a mindset of service. And those people are generally the folks who make good speakers and who are generally able to affect change when they speak and generate revenue when they speak. Then there are others who are not really great speakers, but who think they are, who love the sound of their own voice, but really don't speak for the right purpose. They don't have the mindset of service, for a lot of different ranges. And some of them they tactically use speaking as a mechanism to separate people from their money, or they just simply don't have the skills in order to speak. And so I think within those two groups, I mean, there that's a very broad description, but I think within those two groups, there is a subset that comes to the middle where we can combine the mindset, the pureness of their mission, the quality of their work, the veracity of their ideas, the quality of their wisdom. We can bring that together and match it with the skills and match it with the techniques and match it with the right approach. And we can combine the two. We can change the world and we can make money doing it. But that doesn't mean that everybody who is speaking should be, and you know, not everybody who is not speaking should be. So there's really sort of some qualifications that come into play.
Cool. So you mentioned this qualifications or goal or purpose for speaking. Like some are speaking that might not should not be speaking and vice versa, which is very important now. Also, you talked about the skill set. It's very important for the speaker to have some kind of a skill set. But to go on the most important point, I think is the goal or the purpose for you to speak, for anyone to speak, to have if we don't have the speaker skill set, to learn that and to speak after that. So what is the purpose, or how can someone know that purpose for themselves?
Okay, so let's take the whole concept of speaking and let's break it down because you know the principles that I want to share with you and your audience don't apply to all speakers. So in the speaking world, there are many different kinds of speakers. Okay, there are speakers who are their purpose is to entertain. These like motivational, you know, high energy speakers, which is a legitimate thing. Then there are speakers who primarily want to educate, right? Let me teach you something. Then there are speakers who want to make a change in this world, right? And so it's like this. One group is like, let me entertain you. The other group is, let me educate you. And then the other group is, let me change the way you think so that you can aspire to something different and grow. And then there's the other groups is, let me separate you from your money. Let me sell to you. So these are, if we simplify the approach, these are the different areas of speaking. All of these are legitimate speaking endeavors, and speaking can be used for all of them. So what I want to do is I would like to speak about this. I believe that there is a combination of all of these elements that come into play that make an entrepreneur effective speakers and generate revenue without the singular purpose of separating the audience from their money. And so here are some of the skills. The first, it always goes back, Hussein, to exactly what you just said a few minutes ago, the mindset of service. That's the first thing that I try and teach my clients is, you know, if you're an entrepreneur and if the objective is to use speaking to generate business, if that's the objective, then the mindset needs to be of mindset of service. And so many entrepreneurs, they step on the stage or on the screen and they have the mindset of closing the sale, and the mindset of making money. And you can make money and you can close the sale, but it's so much easier if you start with a mindset of service. How do I serve this audience? How do I serve this podcast host? How do I serve this, you know, podcast's audience? So if you can get in the mindset of service, then that kind of informs everything else that you do after that. So then the other skill that comes into play is this. Need to understand that in order to use speaking to generate business, it's not about being a good salesperson. It's not about being slick. It's not about being smooth. It's not about being cool. Here's what it's about. Have you ever heard the old adage, Hussein, that people buy from those they know, like, and trust? Have you ever heard that?
Yeah.
That's an old sales parameter, and I don't think it's correct. It's not that it's incorrect; it's not complete. And the reason it's not complete is because I know all kinds of people. So do you. You know, between us, we know many, many, many people. So we know a lot of people. A lot of those people, I like them. Right? A lot of them are friends of mine, you know, and I trust them. But that doesn't mean I'm going to hire them or buy from them because there's so many other parameters where know, like, and trust isn't enough. So as a speaker, as an entrepreneur who's speaking, too many have been led to believe that if your audience gets to know you, if they get to like you, and if they get to trust you, then they will hire you. And it's simply not true. Here's what has to happen. This is the next skill. After mindset of service, the audience needs to have this outcome. The audience needs to feel understood, which means if your audience is saying, watching you speak, Hussein, and the audience is thinking, oh, you know what? I know who that is. I've heard him speak before. I really like this guy. I think he's an honest guy. That doesn't mean they're going to rush and hand you their credit card. But if your audience says, you know what? He understands me. He gets me. He's speaking directly to me. Man, as he been following me around, like he really understands me. Their audience has to feel understood. And so when you're a speaker and you spend so much of your time trying to get your audience to understand you, you're missing a first major step. If I'm the speaker who's saying, before you care about who I am, before you even get to begin liking me or trusting me, the first thing that needs to happen is for you to feel like I understand you. I get you. So there's a skill involved in that. So, when you're an entrepreneur and you're out there speaking, whether you're on podcasts or webinars or on a stage, and here's what happens in your mind. Oftentimes you think, I'm going to teach them great things, right? I'm going to teach them really cool things. I'm going to put them in awe of me. I'm going to really do a great job. I'm going to speak really well. I'm going to have great visuals. I'm going to engage them. And then at the end of it, nobody buys anything or nobody hires you. And you feel, why? What did I do wrong? I did everything I was told. I did everything I was taught, and they haven't bought from me. I don't know why. Well, oftentimes what's missing is the audience may like you. They may think you're awesome. They will come up to you and they will say, that was the best presentation I've ever heard. You might get standing ovations. You've changed my life. You'll get all of that. And at the end of the day, you go, man, I must be so great, but my bank account hasn't changed. And then the reason the bank account hasn't changed starts with all of those nice accolades, all of those nice words, and the nice handshakes and the standing ovations. All of those things are just an expression of, I like you, I'm getting to know you, I trust you, I think, but I'm not ready to buy from you yet. So why aren't you ready to buy from me? Because I don't think you understand me. So as a speaker, our job is to let the audience know, listen, I get you. I understand you. So that's the first thing. The next major skill is for a speaker to make the audience feel safe. And what that means is the audience needs to feel like your primary objective is not just to separate them from their money. And so what happens with so many entrepreneurs, Hussein, who speak, even though it may not be their intent to make the audience feel that way, it happens because the speaker will, they'll speak so much about themselves and they'll speak so much about their unique solution, their 5 pillars to this or their 4 secrets to that. And they'll talk about their experience and they'll talk about their expertise and they will play testimonials and all of these things. And all of that is really about the speaker. So the speaker thinks that I'm giving great value. And Hussein, I did this for decades. I made this mistake for so long. I would get in front of an audience and I would think to myself, if I can just show them what I can do, right? If they can see what I can do, and they would be so impressed and they're going to want to hire me. So I would show them what I could do and I would give them all my best content and I would teach them everything I thought they need to know. And I would give and give and give and give of them. And then I would think to myself, now they're going to want to hire from me, and they never would. They never did buy from me or hire from me because even though I thought I was giving to them, what I was really doing was showing off. And what I was really doing was saying, hey, look at what I can do. And then the presentation becomes about me. And it took me many years to understand that that's not going to serve. That doesn't serve the audience. It doesn't serve me. So what I needed to learn was I need first the audience to understand, something, I'm part of you. I understand you. And my purpose here today is to actually help you. And that brings up a whole different thing, because then the question becomes, how do you help people as a speaker? And the one I've learned is this: The worst thing we can do as a speaker or an expert who speaks or an entrepreneur who speaks, the worst thing we can do is offer our audience a solution to their problem. It's the worst thing we can do. And so many speakers do that. I'm here for 30 minutes, 45 minutes. I'm going to offer you a solution to your problem. Here's why it's the worst thing. The reason it's the worst thing, Hussein, is because then the audience thinks they have everything they need to solve their problem. Then the audience goes away thinking this, and okay, Hussein gave me these great tools. Hussein gave me these great ideas. So I'm going to leave. I'm going to implement those tools and implement those ideas. And then it doesn't work. You know why it doesn't work? Because they don't have your influence. They don't have your guidance. They don't have your support. And so they don't know how to implement. So they go to implement and it doesn't work. And then what happens? It's all Hussein's fault.
Yeah, because you are talking about like when I give my story or my experience or my steps in general, you're talking about certain circumstances that might not apply to other people.
Right. Exactly.
There's different things like, but you also talking about being misunderstood and save these two things. Like, so these are one of the biggest mistakes that speakers make. But why do you think that is? Like, generally, if you would want to serve an audience, it's good, I believe, to give some kind of examples, right?
Right.
You need to show some examples. It's important. But to focus on me, for example, I did this and I did that. Haven't they prepared to actually give the other side that how it would apply to them?
So, in any talk, you do need to give the audience some examples, yes. And you need to give the audience some credibility in that the audience needs to know you're the real deal. So, yes, you have to give them a little bit of your resume so they know you're credible. Just like you gave your audience a little bit of my resume today. So they know I'm credible. But here's the thing. What I've learned is that giving them the solution of the problem is not the value. Here's the value. The value is in helping them get clarity around why the problem exists. So here's what you want. Let's start with what you don't want. Here's what doesn't work. When your audience goes away and they think this, if the audience goes away after you talk and they say, that was the best talk I've ever heard. That was so exciting. I've got some great content. I got some great ideas. I can't wait to go and implement all this stuff. That is a bad outcome. That's the outcome that most speakers strive for. Here's the right outcome. This is the outcome that drives business. This is the outcome that makes them come back to you and ask for your help. You want the audience to do this. I've never thought of it like that before. Now I understand why this thing isn't working. I need to talk to that speaker. I need some help from that person. That's the outcome you want. And so the reason why so many struggle to get that outcome is because they make the same mistakes that I made for decades. And that is, I was over teaching. I was teaching people how to solve their problem, teaching people how to do this specific thing, teaching people how to do that. And they would walk away with all of these solutions, try and implement them. They weren't able to implement them. And then, of course, they blame me. And they're not going to hire me after that.
Yeah. So take this one. You need to make people feel that they have discovered the solution themselves, maybe, or are you talking about making them realize the cause of the problem, and this will lead them and make them that you are in a credible place that you can actually have the resolution for what they are having issues with.
That's it. That's it right there. And so it's about this. It's about changing the way they think. It's about challenging their beliefs. It's about having them question that which they think they know to be true. It's about them reevaluating the nature of their condition. And it's not about having them walk away all excited because you were awesome and now they have awesome tools. That's what they pay you for. right? It's about having them walk away with a change of mind. It's a change of feeling. You see, speaking usually is not about a transference of information. Information happens, but that's not the function. The function of speaking is about a transference of emotion. You see, I want you as an audience, I want you to feel about my message the way I feel about my message. And in so doing, I also want you to be questioning that which you think you already know. Because here's what happens. If you have a problem to solve and you keep getting all these different solutions and you go and try it and it doesn't work, and then some other speaker gives you a solution, you go try it and it doesn't work, and all these things you've tried don't work, what happens is you become less and less emotionally involved to all these new solutions. And now a speaker comes on screen or on a podcast or on stage and says, here's another solution. And because you've tried so many of them, you go, okay, I'll try that one and see if it works. But you are emotionally detached. And this is what happens. And you may have a little bit of excitement for a short time, but here's what the combination is. The combination is when you give an audience clarity, when they start thinking, oh, I hadn't thought of it that way, or I've never seen it that way before, or I've never considered that before. There is an emotional excitement there. Now, what happens is they get more excited than they are informed because now they see hope, they feel hope, they see that there might be a change. Now there's like this light bulb moment that goes, no wonder nothing else was working, but you haven't solved their problem. What you've done is you've given them clarity. You've given them a different outlook. You've changed their perspective. You've rattled their beliefs. You've shaken their paradigms. You've reset their expectations. And all of those things drive an enormous amount of excitement in people. And so that's why afterwards, this is where they're going to say, I need more. I need more of that, Hussein. And that's how you sell from the stage. And so it has nothing to do with, buy now, has nothing to do with a multi-stacked offer. And now you can do those things. I do those things and they do work. But generally, for high ticket items like coaching, high ticket coaching programs, it's really about getting your audience to go, how do I get more of you? As
The,
opposed to, I'm going to go and try your stuff.
the most important thing is someone's time. So I guess so when you have this type of when you are in this type of place as a speaker, that you have other people saying that the solution could be within you, and they like feel and trust you, and you don't push maybe the sale. I guess like generally I would say that you serve and maybe say like I have this as an extra if you like to learn more. So would people after have this experience with the speaker, they themselves either recommend you to other people or like start learning more about what you do and how you affect things and what the solutions that you or resolutions that are giving. So now, but do you think that there are some type of limitations on certain things, like for example there are different, you mentioned the way that make money, so the upsells, these kind of things, do you think it is legitimate to have them in the, for example, in a live physical stage, or do you think that we should also only focus on a certain topic for a certain time and not start like upselling people on different things and different coaching programs? Because I have seen this type of thing, and sometimes the point of the event goes away when the upsells come into play. So do you think that's something that speakers should do or not?
Yes. So the answer is it depends. So let me give you a couple of scenarios, okay? Because all of that stuff does happen and there's a place for everything. So I've spoken at many events where, as a speaker, I'm not allowed to make an offer, right? But what I can do is I can rattle the beliefs of the audience so much that they come to me afterwards. And so I can do that. And that is a legitimate way to do it. And where it gets tricky is if you're being paid to speak. If somebody pays you to be on that stage, you have a duty to provide more information and provide some solutions to the problem. I don't get paid to speak anymore. I stopped doing that years ago because I can make far more money and help far more people if I waive my speaking fee and then I'm allowed to make an offer. And we can talk about that if you like and all of the dynamics around that. But I chose many years ago to get out of the paid speaking business because it's way too restrictive and it's the lowest form of being paid as a speaker in the world. And so here's the other thing. So in some events, I can speak and not make an offer, not say hire me today, but I will get business. As you said, people will come up to me, they will speak to me. I might offer a free gift. They'll get on my list. I'll market to them, and that engine will happen. But then there are other events where I'm brought to the stage and my purpose is to sell because the organizer is going to get a commission on what I sell. So I will be a little bit more assertive then. But here's the way I do it is I have one coming up actually in a very short period of time, in next week or so, where there'll be an audience there, a small audience, 100 or so people. And here's the way this will work. I'm going to go and speak for an hour. During that hour, I'm going to shake their beliefs. I'm going to disrupt their thinking. And at the end of that hour, they're not going to be thinking, "Wow, what a great speaker! I'm going to, and I got so much great content. I'm going to go and change the world." That's not what they're going to be thinking. What they're going to be thinking is, "I've never seen it like that before. Now I understand why my business isn't growing. I need to talk to him." That's going to happen at the end of my talk. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to execute a very specific set of steps, and I'm going to say, it's going to be like this, put up your hand if you think that using speaking would help you grow your business. Put your hand up like this. Lots of people are going to put up their hand. Then I'm going to say, put your hand up even higher if you think that would be easier with my help. A lot of hands are going to go up. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, if your hand is up, go ahead and stand. And they will stand. And then I'll say, if you are still sitting, you can go ahead and have lunch. We'll be back in 1 hour. If you're standing, follow me into this room and I'll show you what we have in store for you. And they'll follow me into this room and I'll sit with them for the next 30 minutes, 40 minutes. I'll show them what we have in store for them. I'll show them what the program is. We'll feed them lunch while they're there. And a number of those people will sign up to our program. Now, I'm not going to do any hard selling from the stage. I'm going to give great value. Everybody in that audience is going to walk away with their beliefs rattled. And they're going to have lunch and then they're going to come back. And everybody who goes into that room is going to have the opportunity to see what my program is. And they can decide then if it's something they'd like to pursue or not. Either way, we're going to do very well at that event, and the right people are going to buy the program. And these are the right people that will be served. So I'm not going to try and sell it to the whole room. That's a waste of time. And people hate that. I'm only going to take the people who are interested in hearing about it, and I'll take them aside and I'll talk to them there. See, that way I feel like I've given the entire room value because everybody's going to be questioning what they're doing, which is what I want. They're going to feel excited that they've got a new perspective. And I'm going to be able to sit down with the few people who might be interested in my program, and they can decide whether or not they'd like to join us at this time or not. And there's no pressure. There's no sales approach. Everybody is going to enjoy the experience, and we're going to make some money.
Definitely. So,
Yeah.
speaking of your own personal now experience or how you are framing things for yourself. So, a lot of speakers would say that I deserve a fee for my time.
Yep.
Some say it's 500, some say 1,000, 5, 10, whatever the amount it is, whether it's online, virtual, or a physical place.
Mhm.
You mentioned yourself that you don't do that anymore. You speak for free because you would have different things. Like in the short example that you mentioned, it could apply to that, right? So,
Yeah.
do you think that in general, and also you mentioned if a speaker gets a fee, he's obliged to basically give more,
Yes.
I think, with their information, knowledge, experiences. have better understanding of the audience, I assume also. So,
Yeah. But you
so
said something interesting. You know, I've run into these speakers a lot. I deserve to be paid for my time, right? And here's here's my response. Well, if you deserve to be paid for your time, shouldn't you be paid well? And being paid well is, see, they have this very, very narrow, small thinking. Now, unless you're a superstar, right? Unless you are, Donald Trump, or, if you are like a superstar that everybody in the world wants to come and hear you, like you're a rock star, like Tony Robbins, okay, then you deserve to be paid for your time. If you've done something that has changed the world, okay, you deserve to be paid for your time. But if you think that just because you have something to say, you deserve to be paid, that is a big and very dangerous misconception. And it's dangerous from this perspective. It's not dangerous for the world, it's dangerous for the speaker, because it keeps the speaker in this very tiny little box. And so, if you're being paid $500 or even $1,000 to go and speak at an event, you are not being paid very well as a speaker, right? Unless you're being paid 20, 25, 30, $35,000 for a 30-minute keynote or a 60-minute keynote, you are not very well paid as a speaker. And the reason is because you go and you speak, you get paid, and then you're done. And now you have to go and do another one. Then you have to go and do another one. And you don't get paid if you don't get on a stage. And remember what happened on March 20th, 2020? The world shut down. And I have colleagues in the speaking business that I've known for decades who make a living going from stage to stage to stage to stage, and that's what they do. Some of them get paid 25, 30, 40, $50,000, and every single one of them was unemployed on March 20th, 2020. Gone. Like all of their business gone. Nothing to do tomorrow and for the next 2 years, out of work. But if you want to be paid as a speaker and you believe you deserve to be paid as a speaker, then I think that this is what I did, is I'm not doing that anymore. I'm going to be paid well, which means I'm going to speak at this event next week or in the next 2 weeks, and we're going to make 10 times more than I could earn in any speaking fee, and I'm going to change people's lives. I'm going to teach them how to do this. So they can watch me for an hour and go away, or they can watch me for an hour and join my community. So if they watch me and go away, I'm not going to make any money, or I might make a little speaker's fee. But if I can bring them into my community and say, I can teach you to do what I'm doing, then I'm changing lives. And I've made many millionaires in my program. I've made award-winning speakers in my program. Now, there's no speaker's fee that could pay me enough to reward me for that. And so when I hear speakers say that, I deserve to be paid as a speaker, you're thinking too small. You're limiting yourself, you're limiting your impact, and you're letting your ego stand in the way of your progress.
yeah. And also, like, I would think that the idea of speakers, there are multiple, like, if someone wants a speaker in a certain area, and if they are not willing to pay for their time, for example, there are different speakers who could speak on the same topic. So the issue is eventually comes down to what we are talking here about, whether you pay for the speaker or not. You need to know that these speakers are actually having the audience at first in their head, like they think of their goal or purpose is to serve these people and have them achieve what they came for the conference or the event to achieve. That's
Yeah.
the most important thing.
Yes, that's correct. Yep. So if somebody is paying you to speak, your objective is to reach the outcome that that person, we call that person the economic buyer. So the person who has paid you, the economic buyer, when they pay you to speak, you are their employee, and your job is to reach the outcome that they pay you for. And I never really liked that. I mean, I did that for many years. I didn't really like it because I wanted to change people's lives. I wanted to help people do what I can do. And I couldn't do that if somebody was paying me to motivate their staff. I mean, that just it just there's no heart in there. There's no soul there. There's no change. There's no impact. It's just an exchange of money for time, which is a very, very bad business model. And yet so many people, even coaches, still charge by the hour. Worst business model ever created. Why not get on a screen, get on a stage, get on some podcasts, speak at some events, and start generating revenue based on your impact, generating revenue based on the lives that you serve, based on the lives that you change.
So you talked here about quickly about the coaches that charge per hour.
Mhm.
Like how usually should coaches charge? And actually, funny enough, like the other day, I heard someone talk about. I heard his name is Neil Patel. If you know Neil Patel, so he's an SEO expert and
Yes,
whatever.
I know who that is. Yep.
So
Yep.
I talked about for entrepreneurs or business owners, you need to stop hiring business coaches because
Mhm.
most of them may have not actually have built a business. So
Yes.
that was funny for me. Like, yeah, having a business is really hard and tough. It's not that easy as would be, but it takes time, effort, lot of things. And actually, I think he was like, I would say maybe 50-50 right. Like, if you would hire a business coach, you need to make sure at least he had built a business, one business at least. I don't care if it's a success or failure because he might learn something from that. But like
Yeah.
none, like zero businesses, that does not make any sense.
If I had a business coach who charged by the hour, I wouldn't hire them.
Mm,
Because if the business coach charges by the hour, that tells me they don't really understand the nature of where revenue comes from. So I mean, that's a whole different discussion that we could talk about another time. But it's all about knowing in your business, and this is, of course, true for speaking, is where is the revenue? How do you best generate the revenue and serve the most people the best way?
definitely. So, Steve, do you have some kind of takeaway, final note for the audience to take from this episode?
Yeah, I think, I have a gift for them, if that's okay. Can I give them a gift?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I'm going to gift them a copy of my first book. It's called From Stage Fright to Spotlight. And this is for anybody who's thinking about getting into speaking, but is a little bit uncomfortable, a little bit fearful, not experienced. And this book is going to give you very simple first steps to start preparing to take the screen or take the stage. And they can reach that at this link, and you can add this to the show notes. It's stevelowell.com /free dash book. Okay, stevelowell.com /free dash book. They can grab the book there and it'll give them some really good tips on how to adjust their mindset, how to prepare, some great tips on how to be successful, some things to avoid. So I'd like your audience to have that as my gift.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you very much, Steve, for joining me for this episode of the Success Secret podcast. I'm sure the book, the free gift, would be an amazing insights into things and how also experience and how to work in this field. Like it's very important. Actually, eventually, I would say that the experiences are good to share, but also we have to put ourselves in a place of serving people and giving them clarity for what they want. And this is how things would start kicking in for people and would actually not only like and trust us, but also will hire us or get our services or products too. So thank you very much for joining me for this episode.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me. I hope we can do it again.